Tomorrow, June 24th, I will be doing my 2-hour online workshop, Bebop for Beginners. So in today's video, I'm just going to answer some questions that I've had about the workshop. Got my little list. Here we go. So, first question, how is this workshop different from the 2021 Bebop for Beginners workshop? So I did a workshop with the same title a couple of years ago. This workshop has been completely redesigned from the ground up. It's going to be run along the similar lines as the previous two workshops that I've done this spring, the Freddie Chords and the swing scale workshops, where we're going to have first a quick review of some of the ideas from the swing scale workshop, then talk about some specifics of playing bebop on the blues. I've talked about this in a video earlier this week about 3 spots in the 12-bar blues progression where you need to know how to really spell out chord changes specific to the bebop way of playing the blues. So we're going to cover those, and we'll do it by looking at some specific solos and how to play licks in those particular spots, and then look at a few different variations for those spots. So say for the first line, when you need to make that transition from the 1 to the 4 chord, we'll look at 3 different ways to do that. We'll look at 3 different ways to do the second line, where you have to play a little bit of diminished and another bit of altered on the 6th chord. And then a few ways to think about playing the third line with the 2-5-1 turnaround. Although we're going to look at it not as a 2-5, but as a kind of 2 resolving to 1. After we look at a few different ways to play each line, we'll talk about how to mix and match them so you can start to recombine those ideas on the fly. And that's a big part of the whole idea. This is kind of a stepping stone to improvising, where you're going to get some ideas for some specific moments in the chord progression and have multiple ways to play those moments, which you can then start to mix and match yourself. So the improvising will come as you start to be able to recombine different licks on the fly. It's not just saying, here's the scale, here's the chords, do your thing. It's saying, here are the scales, here are the chords we're playing them over. Here are some specific ways you might want to try doing that so you can get these ideas into your hands as licks. The idea is to make playing on the changes in a swing and a bebop way as much like playing the blues as possible. So, when you learn to play blues, you learn to play licks, and the 5 chord is coming up. Here's this cool B.B. King thing I can do. Well, with this workshop, we're going to look at some specific ways to play over each of those key moments in the chord progression so that you can start to have a vocabulary of moves. And it's no good having moves unless you know when to play them. So the emphasis is on context. Here are a few moves that work when you're going from 1 to 4. Here's how to practice them so you can get them under your fingers and use them as real practical material. Okay, question number 2, do I need to have taken the swing workshop first? No, you don't. Bebop is built on the swing framework. That's just how it developed. And this workshop does build on the ideas that I talked about in the swing workshop. But I'm going to do a recap of some of those ideas at the beginning of the Bebop workshop, so you'll have some sense of what was going on in the swing workshop and how we're going to take those ideas and develop them further. All right, next, will there be an on-demand replay available? Yes, there will. Once the workshop is done, you'll be able to watch a replay almost immediately afterwards. So if you can attend live, it's taking place tomorrow morning from 10:30 a.m. Central Daylight Time. From 10:30 to 12:30, it's a 2-hour workshop. And if you can come, great, because there'll be a live chat going on during the workshop, so you can ask questions and get cleared up on things you don't understand as they go by, if that happens. But if you can't be at the workshop, at the live stream, you can still sign up and you'll have access to a replay that has the entire workshop as soon as the workshop is over, or as quickly as YouTube renders it available. So yes, there will be a replay. What keys will you be covering? 1 key, B flat. I am a big believer in the idea that it is really valuable to see how different ideas work over the same chord progression in the same key before you start trying to do things in multiple keys. So if you did take the swing workshop and you saw how all these things worked in the key of B flat, let's stay in B flat for the bebop workshop so you can see, oh, the difference between the swing lines and the bebop lines happens here, and you're not getting confused by going, well, before we were in B flat, now we're in A flat, and I don't know how, right? So if you keep it all in one key, it makes comparing and contrasting things way easier. And it's much more satisfying and useful, I believe, to really get some of these ideas nailed down in one key. And then once you have that down, you can then move to other keys, and it'll be faster the next time because you'll have worked everything out in one key. Now you're just translating it to another key, and the next key after that will happen faster, and so on and so on. So we'll be in the key of B flat. What tunes will you be covering? One tune, the 12-bar blues. Again, but there's two reasons for that. One is that this is really a workshop on improvisation for blues musicians who want to expand their palette. If you're already burning over rhythm changes or, standards, if you want to play better on the blues, this may help you, but that's not really who this is for. It's for people who are comfortable with the 12-bar blues. And again, just like staying in one key, staying on one chord progression for the length of the workshop means that you can take these new and maybe unfamiliar ideas and see how they work in a familiar context. It will mean a lot more if you are seeing new lines, new ideas, new licks on a chord progression that you already are familiar with. So that ultimately, when you're playing blues, you can stay inside your blues and pentatonic licks, or you can start to venture out into some of these swing and bebop licks and just have a much broader vocabulary. And eventually, if you want to translate that into other situations, knowing how to play on all the changes of the 12-bar blues will give you a ton of ideas and skills which you can readily take to 8-bar blues, 32-bar standards, and all that kind of thing. What is that jam track you've been using in your YouTube videos lately? It's a jam track I made myself. That track is available as part of the workshop. So when you are signed up for the workshop, there'll be a download link. You can get that jam track. You can download it, hold on to it. It uses the exact changes that we're going to be covering in the workshop. So you can practice all of the examples to this specific jam track. It's just got bass and drums, so you can hear what you're doing on the guitar. You could even practice comping over it if you wanted to. That's the jam track that I'm using, and you'll have access to it when you sign up for the workshop. Can I still get access to the Freddie Green Chords or the Swing Scale workshops? Yes, you can. Those workshops have already taken place, but replays are available for those. Those replays will include, there's also a swing scale jam track that comes with that workshop, and there's a 20-page PDF for the Freddie Green Chords workshop. There's a 20-page PDF for the swing scale workshop. Those are downloadable, and you will get a year's access to the replays of the Freddie Green workshop or the swing scale workshop if you buy those now. You can even still get a bundle price where if you don't have any of the workshops yet, you can buy all three and save a little dough. Is there a tab for this workshop? Yes, there is. There is a notation and tab for every exercise, every model solo, and every example of how to mix and match these licks that I'm going to be going over in the workshop. So you'll have this 20-page, I think it's 20 pages, 19, 21, around that. You'll have this PDF that you can download and hang on to and follow along with. I also put the PDF on screen when I'm actually doing the workshop, so you can see it there. But if you want to have it to mark up and follow along, you can print it out yourself if you like. How long does the workshop last? The workshop lasts for 2 hours. I try to do it so there's about an hour and a half of actual teaching, and then every 20 or 30 minutes, I stop and answer questions. So there's a live chat going, and if we're going over something and you're like, I don't really understand why you're doing that or what this chord is, or can you go over this again? Can you play this slowly again? There's time for that. And usually there's a good 15 or 20 minutes towards the end where I can just answer questions and elaborate on different things. And I try to leave you with a really good understanding of how to practice the material going forward. So you know what to work on, how to practice it. It's not just material, it's also material that's organized in a way that illustrates how to work on it, so that when you leave the workshop with the handouts and with the replay and with the jam track, you can practice the material effectively because it's been organized in a way that will help you understand how to improvise with this material and what to do with it as you get it under your fingers. How long do I have to rewatch the workshop? Well, you have a year. So there's a year's access to the replay, and that will give you time to go over all the material. You can watch it as many times as you want. You'll have the downloaded PDF and the downloaded jam track forever and ever, amen. And you'll have a year to go over all the material in the workshop itself. And finally, a bonus question. I'm a blues guy, not a jazz guy. Can I take this workshop anyway? Absolutely. It's really for blues musicians who want to take their blues playing and have access to more ideas, more colors, more flavors, whatever metaphor you want to use. If you're listening to blues, but you're also hearing Charlie Christian or Grant Green or Kenny Burrell or, people who play in organ combos, or West Coast blues guys like Junior Watson, or people like Duke Robillard who do that mix of blues and jazz and swing, but you don't know how to get those things under your fingers and you don't know what those sounds are or why they're doing it. That's really who the workshop is for. Blues musicians who want to open up their palette, have some new licks to play, and not play only jazz, but be able to bring some of that jazz and swing flavor into their blues playing. So if that's you, I hope you'll sign up. You can get all the information down below or on screen, and I hope I see you tomorrow at the workshop.